name is Vivian Xu. I'm a product manager in Google Cloud, and I have Edward Hammond, senior enterprise architect from Cardinal Health today here with me as well. So from the title of the session, you probably can expect we're going to talk a lot about an industry, highly regulated with a lot of security and compliance requirements. So today we're going to break it into three parts. The first part will talk about how Google Cloud supports an industry with a high security and compliance requirements. And then Ed will come and share his best practice in Cardinal Health, how he improves developers' productivity without compromising their compliance and security requirements. And the third part will bring it back to GCP Marketplace and share with you how developers and the enterprise procurement team can benefit from the marketplace with their deployment as well as procurement support. Okay, so let's get started. So as we all know, security and compliance is a collaboration. It's a shared responsibility between cloud and the customer. Depending on the deployment model that you choose, whether it's infrastructure as a service or platform as a service or software as a service, the responsibility breakout between cloud and customer are different. And the Google Cloud does a lot of work to make sure that our part is secure, meet the compliance requirements, so it can better to support you when you need to meet your compliance and security needs. So more specifically, we do from the three parts. The first part is protection. Protection is done when Google Cloud design its infrastructure. The security is in the design. It's built in, part of the design, from the chips to the compute, networking, storage, to the data center. We have security built into all of these designs. And also control. GCP offers a wide range of control for you to meet your policy, regulatory, and business objectives. And the last part is compliance. As mentioned, we work to meet our compliance requirements so that we can better to support you and make your compliance work easier. So just give you an example, we know that our customer and the regulator expect us to work with the third-party independent auditor to look at our compliance to make sure that our policy, our operation, our infrastructure are all meeting the security, privacy, compliance requirements. So that's the reason that you can see here, we have regularly worked with the third-party auditors to do all this certification and compliance. And that includes both internationally, globally accepted compliance standards, as well as regional, local standards. So that makes you, when you need to meet those, your side of standards and compliance requirements easier when you either go global or you go to a specific region. And we continue to expand this list. And at the same time, you probably recognize some of the partners named here. There are top-notch security partners that we are working with. They are probably already in your on-prem data center. So when you move to GCP Cloud, those partner solutions are on GCP Marketplace as well. So you can have a consistency between your on-prem data center and cloud. You can have the same security posture. And cloud technology, from the feedback that we collect from the customer, really represent a fundamental shift for the healthcare. Traditionally, on the on-prem environment, you have an inflexible software deployment, right? It's really hard to deploy, to update, to patch. And as a result of that, most of the developers, a lot of developer cycle goes into maintaining that infrastructure instead of developing business-focused applications and solutions. And as a result of that, you might have a complex, rigid offers, and also data are siloed. It's hard to get a holistic view of your patient information, of your system, of your solution. And also, it's mainly CAPEX based. So it usually goes through long approval cycle with a large procurement team within your organization. With the cloud, the promise of Google Cloud, cost reduction, universal access, up-to-date, and flexibility, we see some of our healthcare customers are moving to a new model, the model that is built on top of cloud. So with that model, first of all, software is very easy to deploy. It's very easy to maintain, patch, or update. And as a result of that, you save the time from maintaining infrastructure. You save the time from patching your software. The developer can really focus on your true IP, focus on business value applications. And with that, you also start to have data coming together, form a patient-centric view, how you can view your data everywhere, anytime you need or your customer need. So with that being said, I want to welcome Ed back to the stage, and he will share with you how he improved the developers' agility in Cardinal Health without sacrificing any security and compliance needs. Thanks.
Thank you. Can you hear me? You got me? All right, there we go. We're glad to have you all here. Hopefully this will be of value to you. If you don't know anything about Cardinal Health is a large healthcare company, and we're concerned about providing products and services to hospitals, solution providers, and we are multinational. You can read the slide up here. So this talk, what we're trying to focus in on here is who is going to try and use this information. Really, our goal is to try and help the centralized IT staff as well as the distributed staff. We have people all over the country, all over the world. They're supporting IT capabilities, then at various different stages in their sophistication. So simple developers, full DevOps teams, or researchers. For example, true BI researchers, AI researchers, or architects. I'm an architect, so I play around more than do operational things. And what we really want to try and do is get the consistency. When we deploy things out, we want to have consistent framework. Consistency is always good in data processing. We also want to have efficiency, because we're really cost conscious, obviously. And so we want to be able to maximize the utility of the things that we develop. Use once, or build once, reuse. And then 0 to ready, I had this 0 to 60, but 60 what? 0 to 60 in 60 seconds, so that you can actually deploy an instance very, very quickly, almost on the competitive nature of what you might do for a container, and ensure that we have a secure environment. Okay, so about security. Security is all about protecting our customer data. There are lots of regulations out there. They care about us trying to protect the customer data. And we have to have multiple layers of defense. You don't want to have a single misconfiguration create disaster. So you have to put several different things in place. Obviously, you have to have logging, monitoring, compliance, audit, all those kinds of things. There are HIPAA requirements that you have to maintain certain audit logs for 7 years. Some other data has to be maintained for 40 or 50 years, that kind of thing. So you have to think about all these kinds of considerations. And we use several products in our ecosystem to try and provide that multiple layers of defense. But by the same token, we want to go cloud native as much as we possibly can so we can test new and different products. We heard about Anthos. We've also heard this just this morning about some new artificial intelligence, BI kinds of capabilities. So we want to take advantage of those very, very quickly. So we really like the pay-as-you-go model. One of my executives, I have it on another slide, he talks about it as being a disposable technology stack. But pay-as-you-go means zero commitment. Traditionally, if you were going to try and get something, you had to go into this year-long or 3-year-long kind of contract cycle. In this world, I can use it for 3 months and then deploy something different if I need to. Now, traditional technologies really haven't caught up with this. This is a real challenge for a lot of the vendors. Some of the vendors that you saw in Vivian's earlier slide, they still sort of try and move you toward a 1 or 3-year or 5-year commit on purchasing some of the licenses. So we as an industry need to help vendors move into this pay-as-you-go model. And it's going to be a challenge for us all. When you start talking about infrastructure as code, everybody needs to become a programmer. What I mean by that is, rather than having a Windows systems administrator try and work with the Windows GUI, everything needs to be in code. Everything needs to be in Git. You push it up, the whole instance is fully configured. We do that for Linux, we do it for Linux, for Windows, and so forth. So again, protecting our customers, we use standard approaches because we're lifting and shifting a lot of our workloads from on-premise data centers into the cloud. And when you do that, you can't change everything all at once. So therefore, there are tools and techniques that have been used traditionally in some of those security appliances that we just can't throw away, that we have to maintain, and there is not a cloud-native equivalent. So we had to bring those appliances forward with us. And they're used largely for the segmentation. There is some business function put in there, but it's largely for segmentation and isolation of workloads. There's also the challenge of separation of duties. You hear separation of duties, and quite often you think about two different groups doing things, right? This group has to do firewall rules, this group has to do this is a test team, and that kind of thing. Well, when you think about DevOps and everybody being a programmer and click a button, and now I have a full production environment, that really challenges that separation of duties. So therefore, you have to put into place CI/CD workflows and checkpoints, approval checkpoints, to make sure somebody doesn't release something incorrectly or either maliciously or accidentally. We also develop standard patterns. We vet that, we think about it, we design it, we test it, we develop standard patterns, and we want to deploy those on a consistent basis. So we use something called golden images. You could call it whatever you want. It's sort of like a CD that you can use that has everything on it that you would need. That also helps prevent the common mistakes that you're going to naturally have. We also put that in the network as well. To ensure that we don't have an accidental thing get through, obviously that would be a bad thing, we have reactive controls as well. I'll give you a case in point. In the network, if somebody puts in a network firewall rule that's incorrect, we have cloud functions that automatically shuts those down within seconds. We do the same thing in some of our images as well. Okay, so the golden images. Let me talk about that one. We take the marketplace images, and we have a number of them that we support. We take those marketplace images, and we use Packer, and we add on to that marketplace image a number of different security products and a number of different configuration items that are necessary to run a VM instance in the environment. We take those and we have them as a private image family, and we share that, authorize use, give permissions to service projects, authorize that use to the service projects. So developers can just pick those off the shelf, and they have everything that they need to be secure. So again, we apply hardening, CIS hardening scripts. We install binaries and other products that we need to have on there that are required for security compliance purposes. In Windows, we sysprep the images, or in Linux, we redact out some configuration items. And then we do automated pen testing. We actually deploy some of these and do pen testing afterwards to make sure it's all solid. We try and do this on a monthly basis. It's pretty much automated, but with things changing, some technologies change. There's some manual in there as well. But generally, it's fairly well automated, that when a new image comes out, we update it. The other advantage about this is, once we put that up there, the boot image, so licensing material that needs to be there, that's maintained with these images. So there's no additional effort on the developer standpoint to deploy something. Now, for special use cases, we have some security appliances which are really special use cases. They have many network adapters. They have many considerations that you have to take into account. We took the image off the marketplace that's provided by the vendor. We have a bash script, fairly simple bash script, that runs deployment manager. And the real physics is in that YAML file. In the YAML file, we put in all the material that we need to customize that image. I use the term boilerplate settings, but it's all the things that you need to do. For example, something silly, like on every system image, you have to have the disclaimer that your actions can be monitored, right? That's a legal requirement. Everybody has that on their systems. So that has to be on every single image. Where are the DNS servers? How are you doing NTP? All that kind of stuff is part of this boilerplate. Every image should get this kind of material. So we put that all in this YAML file. And so from 0 to 60 in 11 minutes, and that's with 3 reboots because I'm switching network adapters and provisioning modules and resizing disk drives and that kind of stuff. Within 11 minutes, you can have a fully production security appliance deployed and ready to go. From 0 to 60 in 11 minutes. That's pretty powerful. Give you an example. Just last week, we had a brand new engineer come on, very skilled in networking, very skilled in working with this class of appliance, and she had never seen Git before. So I sat with her for an hour and a half, going over Git, helping her to understand Git and Bash and that kind of thing. But once we went through that, she was able to actually use the deployment and build 2 instances in 11 minutes. So it was pretty straightforward. Once I got her past all the, you're now a programmer, she was able to do her job very, very effectively. So therefore, she didn't have to go and figure out all this YAML boilerplate and everything else. Traditionally, when you think about deploying some of these hardware appliances, it's several hours of somebody going through and configuring this and configuring that and so forth and so on. So infrastructure as code really pays the value. So another one that we were worried about is once you put one of these appliances out there, what happens if you have a disk drive failure, right? That's always a worry. And in the physical world, you have 2 disk drives, and you have active standby pair and those kinds of things. Well, in the cloud, you don't have this active standby pair. Everything's active-active. Okay, so what happens if you lose a disk drive? Well, we take snapshots. We're doing hourly snapshots. So the disk drive gets corrupted. Which hour do you want me to recreate from? With a YAML file, deployment manager, we can destroy, rebuild inside of 5 minutes. So if today, right this second, somebody called me and said, I need to rebuild from 7 hours ago, I could take it, 5 minutes, you got it back again. That's pretty powerful. On each one of our instances, we have all the logging and monitoring tools. This little icon there is representative of one of the very common large-scale logging and monitoring tools that many people use. But we also use Stackdriver. We also use cloud storage as a logging and monitoring. For example, I mentioned that in some cases we have retention periods of many years, 7, 40, 50 years of retention. Doesn't make sense to maintain on brown spinning disk. It makes sense to put in cloud storage so that you can have that really long retention. Okay. Now, of course, you're going to apply life cycles to all of that so that you're going to throw away data that you don't need as quickly as you need to. Okay. So the buying models. How many people have ever tried to, you get something and they say, we'll give you a 30-day free trial, and so forth and so on. I don't know about you, but I've never ever, not once ever, had a 30-day free trial not get extended 2 or 3 times. So typically what you need is 5 hours of dedicated time over a 120-day period, right? I don't know about you, but I get busy and I run from meeting to meeting to meeting. Well, in this case, what I can actually do is I can spin up an instance, work on it for an hour, shut it down, go to meetings, go off to a conference for a week, come back, run it for another hour, and that kind of thing. So I have it over a long duration. Again, we were talking about this disposable technology. So one of the things as we started adopting the cloud, and we've been on this journey for several years now, is we did not want to get into a position where I make a technology decision today and I continue with that technology just because I bought it. One of the challenges you run into is as soon as you buy it, then you wind up using more of it, which means you are locked into it. And we want to be able to get out of that vendor lock-in kind of case. So when we start thinking about some of these security appliances, when I start, I say, great, that's my current architecture for today. And if Google comes out with a competitive advantage, I'm going to drop that one, flip over to this other one. And so I don't want to be stuck into a particular technology. Now that actually challenges, if you think about it, the traditional purchasing model, all right? So in our case, we're a publicly traded company, and certain layers of management have certain spend authorities. I'm sure you probably have the same kind of thing. And in the old CapEx model, it was, well, you have to do a capital purchase request, it has to go through procurement, it has to get 12 signatures, and so forth and so on. Some of these appliances can be fairly expensive. One of them, as I show on here, is $85 a day. Well, after I spend out 5 or 6 of these things, run them for several days, if my manager doesn't have the proper spend authority, now it can be a problem. So you constantly have to go through education of people to make sure that they understand what you're spending. And turn off the lights. I talk about this all the time to the people. Didn't your mom and dad ever tell you to turn off the lights when you leave the room? We need to always turn off the lights whenever we possibly can. We do that across the board. We have a number of tools that we use to try and turn off the lights automatically based on time and also based on utilization. But the other notion is build it only when you need it. Don't build it 2 weeks in advance. Build it the day or the hour or the minute that you need it, and then destroy it as quickly as you possibly can. That's a really different mindset. If you ever worked with any project team, as for example, I was working with one for our e-commerce team, and they were saying, we have to have all these servers built. We have to have 10 servers this way and so forth and so on. And I said, well, okay, when do you need them? On Friday. And I said, okay, what time on Friday? They said, well, by Friday afternoon. Okay, I'll build them at lunchtime. No, we need them by Monday. Why? Because that's what we do. We have to get them on Monday. That's the project. You get them on Monday and we'll use them on Friday. I said, no, I'm going to do it at lunchtime. So again, that model is very different for most enterprises. So my summary slide, the advice for others, I would recommend the concept of the golden images. Now, there are exceptions. For example, I was just mentioning there's a lot of chatter this morning on email back home. Somebody wants to use an image off the straight marketplace. And I said, great, you want to use the image off the marketplace? Then you get to go through the 5 pages of steps that we go through to build the golden image. But I don't want to do that. Well, then your choice is to use the golden image. So we're calling these not standards, we call these accelerators, trying to make it a positive experience. If you use the accelerator, you go fast. If you deviate from that and use something different, it's going to slow you down. Have a solid maintenance pattern of how you're going to actually deploy these things, how you're actually going to use them, and communicate that with your customers. We use shared templates for common deployments. In Deployment Manager, we have a standard template, and literally in about 12 lines of YAML, the host name and whatever else you're going to want, what network you want to put it on. In about 12 lines of YAML, that's all you need to spin up an instance, and you can get it in 2 or 3 minutes. Domain joined if it's Windows and all that kind of stuff. Okay, use the power of the startup script. That's how we're doing some of that. And we also use cloud storage very heavily. For example, another one is somebody wanted to create their own Jupyter notebook. Okay, so they wanted to create a set of images for that. So what we did was we used a golden image, and to do the Jupyter notebook, it was a 61 gigabyte file that they needed to install. So we put that in cloud storage. When the instant boots up, it downloads it from cloud storage, configures it, there you go. And the last note that I might say is if your folks are not programmers, they need to become so. It's going to be a challenge to not have programmers in your enterprise. So that means a skills uplift at times. It means training. It means patience with people, learning how to use tools like Git and manage infrastructure as code. So we'll have some time to take questions later on, and I'm going to turn it back over to Vivian. Oh, I went back. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Ed. It's always exciting to see how GCP empower enterprise and learn from the best practice from those enterprise. So as mentioned, they start their deployment from GCP Marketplace. So I want to just deep dive a little bit more to the GCP Marketplace and also share other capabilities of the GCP Marketplace with you. So we built the GCP Marketplace really for enterprise development. We enable the developers' productivity, right? We have those vetted, tested solutions on GCP Marketplace. They can download and use it right away. We have the simplified management. So we will talk about the deployment manager. I'd also mention that's something they use, as well as some new capability in the Kubernetes application. And at the end, I think this is for everyone, enable procurement. Billing, invoicing, procurement, budget approval is never really a fun process. So GCP Marketplace try to simplify that for you. Okay, so let's look at the developer experience first. As mentioned, there's a very rich catalog of solutions on GCP Marketplace. There's a lot of category. It covers a wide range of vertical. And in terms of form factor, we have VM solutions, Kubernetes applications, datasets, API, software as a service, right? So any form factor you could think of, you would need to build your application, you can find them in Marketplace. And second, the deployment manager. And Ed already showed the deployment manager in his example that it can simplify your deployment. But when it's required, it really allows you to do very powerful customization as well. For example, building the golden image and embed that golden image into the deployment manager in Cardinal Health example. And the last one is the Kubernetes application. Very happy to announce it's going GA, the Kubernetes application on GCP Marketplace. We work very hard with a lot of partners to make this another type of solution on GCP. And we also have the simplified managed update for you in alpha. So the reason that we work so hard to get a Kubernetes application onto GCP Marketplace, because we heard from you that you want a solution that you just need to build once and it can run anywhere. So we did that. With a Kubernetes application, you can run that application in your on-prem environment, on top of Anthos, or on any Kubernetes clusters. And you have the flexibility to move that solution between those environments as well. And the Kubernetes application also has the pre-built template, deployment template into the application. So that simplifies your deployment experience. And the last, again, this will be another line item in your GCP build together with the GCP resource use together with the other partner solution you use. So you have a consolidated billing in one invoice from GCP. And talking about the managed updates, right? We understand the deployment is not enough. What you really need is management. It's the lifecycle management. So we are introducing managed updates for Kubernetes application. Okay, so we are introducing managed update for Kubernetes application. First of all, you can leverage that capability through our GCP UI, as you can see on the screenshot. It allows you to patch any security vulnerability or any updates to your application much quickly. And second, this managed update has the auto rollback capability. So you define the rollback condition, any condition you need, and GCP will do the health check for your application. Once the condition is met, the auto rollback trigger will happen. Right? So you don't have to monitor your system very closely as long as you define your condition very well, because the rollback will happen automatically once the GCP detects that. And the last, it's the current manager update is supported on the CLI as well as the GCP UI front. So as a developer, if you want to integrate that into your system using the CLI, that's available. Okay, so since we talk about the Anthos, just a kind of a recap, Anthos is a Google-built, Google-managed software stack. and it allows you to deliver your applications into a hybrid and a multi-cloud environment. So it has the automated policy and the security built in, so you can do the policy management and the security management at scale. And it also has a very consistent operational management or consistent control plane experience you need when you go across multiple environments. And of course, we always build an ecosystem around a solution that we deliver. Anthos has a very strong, very powerful enterprise ecosystem. And as you can see, Kubernetes application as one of the core into Anthos has already so many partners offering their solutions on GCP Marketplace. And the customers are looking at those Kubernetes application and can deploy it easily using the Kubernetes managed update, can use our tools to easily spinning them up and down in their environment. And also, as Anthos promised, we are doing hybrid cloud. You not only can deploy your application into GCP, GKE, but also the GKE on-prem. And we made that happen with our partners as well. For the partners listed here, not only you can deploy them in the GKE in GCP as well as the GKE on-prem. And we are working with the rest of the Kubernetes application partners very hard to make their solution available on-prem. So this way, you really have the consistency across different environments, whether it's a customer-built application that you build yourself or a partner solution that you are getting from the marketplace. Okay, so GCP Marketplace, we talk a lot about a Kubernetes app, but GCP Marketplace has a lot more other solutions. Just to remind, we have a VM, we have SaaS, we have an API, we have a data set, and that covers a wide range of use cases. So from security, database, networking, storage, machine learning, AI, big data, you name it, right? We have all type of partners offering these solutions on the GCP Marketplace. So we talk about the developer. It's easy to use from the marketplace, from the developer point of view. What about the enterprise? First of all, we have a very flexible pricing model. As Ed mentioned earlier, they want usage-based. They want to have disposal technology, right? Disposal means I'm not wasting anything if I switch my technology stack. And usage-based pricing allow you, or pay as you go, allow you to do that. There's no pre-commitment. There's no pre-contract negotiation or a very long budget approval. You can just use and pay for what you use. Then the second is we understand when you move to production, when you have a more stable environment, you probably need a more consistent billing model. So this is where we provide a monthly subscription, we provide you annual subscription, multi-year subscription. And the annual subscription is coming in beta very soon. So this way you will get the consistency you need when you move into a production environment. And the second, we know that you work with your vendor pretty closely, and most of the time you might have custom contract. You have custom pricing. So this is where we allow you to continue to leverage GCP Marketplace, right? You don't have to go to another channel, go to another procurement process because you have a discount negotiated with your vendor. So in using the private pricing, your vendor can create a code inside the GCP and deliver that code to you through GCP. And all the transaction, all the procurement will still happen using the GCP billing system, and your eventually the vendor charge will also show up on the GCP bill. So it preserves this single bill benefits you get from GCP. And the last one is a private catalog. Ed mentioned that they have those golden image. They try to put into a catalog so that their developer can easily leverage them. We are building that service as well right now to make even that process easier. So the private catalog will allow you to put your golden image into that with the right access and control, and your developer can just grab it from the private catalog. And the private catalog right now is in beta. So just want to show you some example. Cardinal Health is not only an example using GCP Marketplace. We have an increasing number of large enterprise customers are deploying their solution, looking their entire product lifecycle from development to production, and looking those solutions from the marketplace. We are seeing developers are getting their building blocks from GCP Marketplace, whether it's a tooling, whether it's a firewall, whether it's a load balancer, whether it's a database. And we are seeing the IT operation also deploying solution from the GCP Marketplace because they see the ease of deployment and the management and risk-free. A few more capability, just to mention on the integration that we do with the other GCP services. Cloud Security Command Center. So this is a GCP service, provide you a single pane of glass for the threats that you might have in the system, then take action immediately. Not only you can deploy or provision Cloud Security Command Center from GCP Marketplace, but also we integrate some of the security partner solution into the command center. So as a result of that, not only you see your GCP resource, how their security posture is, and take action on it, you can also see your vendor security solution. So you have a complete picture about your environment. And as you have heard from Keynote, we will also welcome those open source partners to GCP Marketplace. Not only they will have the same ease of use from the GCP Marketplace, consolidated billing, but also will offer additional first-party experience to make you, when you use those open source, experience really great. And we also want to welcome the newest Kubernetes app solution from Palo Alto. This is the security adapter Palo Alto offers on the service mesh. And again, this is a solution on GCP Marketplace, but you can deploy either on GCP or the GKE on-prem. So this is already running fully integrated with our Anthos solution. And we want to welcome more and new and updated listing. This list just growing by the day. Every day we have a new partner either adding their solutions, additional solutions to the marketplace, or new partner with a new solution coming on board. Great. So I've been talking about enterprise developers, but just in case you are actually have a solution, please come sell on GCP Marketplace. As you can see with the GCP, first of all, global visibility, increased global sale, ease solution delivery. We do have a high bar to make sure that your solution is secure and easy to deploy, and you have a lot of GTM opportunities with Google. So just to recap, Google Cloud provides a product, solution, templates, best practice to support you with the high requirements and compliance. And from Cardinal Health shared their best practice, how to improve the developer's experience, to improve the developer agility without sacrificing anything on security and compliance. And the last, GCP Marketplace is your catalog for any application solutions you need to build your own business.